Zaid Jilani is a journalist for The Intercept, and he made a point on Twitter the other day that I think is really powerful, and I wanted to share it with you here. Now, I've been struggling to put into words what exactly it is about mainstream media and the establishment that at its core bothers me. You know, I mean, you guys have heard me talk about this, and there's a variety of arguments I make in regards to why the establishment sucks and why mainstream media is a joke. But he really summed it up in a very concise way. I mean, concise enough to fit in a fucking tweet where I thought, that's it. And so I wanted to bring it to you guys. He said this: interpersonal behavior treated one way, policy is treated another. If Bill Clinton walked outside the White House gates and said the N-word 50 times, people would ask him to resign. When he bombed a medicine factory in Sudan, it was just a policy error. Government normalizes evil. That's it. That's it. That's exactly it. And that's what bothers me so much about mainstream media and about how we discuss these issues and about the establishment, is that anything policy related, simply by virtue of the fact that it's happening within the confines and the context of the U.S. government, anything policy related is viewed as reasonable by definition. It just is. So when Donald Trump and the Republicans propose a healthcare plan that has a 12% approval rating, that kicks millions of people off of insurance, that spikes premiums at least 20%, that gets rid of pre-existing conditions, that's viewed as, well, what do you mean? It's just a proposal. And hey, if it passes, maybe it's a mistake, but it's not evil. You know, it's not a joke. It's not something worthy of he should fucking step down and resign. It's a difference of opinion policy-wise. Because, hey, it's a bill and it's proposed in the context of the U.S. Drone strikes, like we just spoke about, 90% of the time they get the wrong people. But hey, it's an official government action, so what are you going to do? It's just bad. It's just an error. It's just an error. But again, if Trump or Bill Clinton went out there and said the N-word 50 times, if there's a personal scandal, it's, oh my God, let's talk about this for hours. Like, sex scandals are infinitely bigger than even the biggest policy crimes, I would argue. Like, when Trump signed a bill, every Republican was in favor of it. Trump signed it, a bill that totally guts internet privacy rights. It used to be the case that when your information goes into a website, they need to get your approval if they were to give that information to a third party, to a different company. Well, they got rid of that. Now, anybody that has your information can give it to any other company and is totally fine. Only 6% of Americans supported that. Trump signed it. I didn't see any coverage of it in the mainstream media. Why? It's policy-related and government. It's normalized. By definition, it's normalized. It's a policy. The policy passed. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? The death penalty. 4% of the time, it kills the wrong people. We're murdering innocent people with our tax dollars. It's a difference of opinion. Death penalty. What are you going to do? It could be an error, but it's death penalty. What are you going to do? The war in Iraq. Yeah, sure, it killed 200,000 civilians, and then we did torture, and then we did the Patriot Act, which gutted our constitutional rights. But hey, it's a policy, and if it's policy, then that means there's two sides of it, and so it's normalized. This is why our media is so bad. This is why they're so bad. Because nothing policy-related musters the proper amount of outrage, whereas everything related to personal matters generates that outrage. There was more talk about Donald Trump and that ad that other Republicans released to attack him, which are in the primary. There was more talk about him cursing, literally, him using bad words, than when he went on Fox and Friends and said, we have to, quote, take out their families, meaning kill the families of ISIS. The families, so the innocent civilians, not ISIS, not just ISIS, the families. There was more talk about him saying fuck than him saying, I, as president, would like to murder civilians on purpose. That is the sign of a totally broken system. And Zaid nails it as to why. Everything government-related is just normalized. Everything personal-related, well, that's where we can really pour on the outrage. But, hey, that's how you also get a caricature of people on the left of the snowflakes. Hey, personal business stuff is, oh, yes, resign. You said the wrong word at the wrong time. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's not a serious person. That's not a serious thinker. That's not a serious system. So we need to be better than that. And look, that's why, hopefully, that's why we have the viewership we have and why we do well in terms of how many people watch us, is because I'm trying to keep the outrage meter in context and perspective and have it peak at the right things. Like, hey, we're mad about this and that, not about the fucking personal garbage. So that's the difference in many respects between new media outlets and establishment media outlets. The only people who would get hired and who would get those positions are the people who would flip out about the personal stuff and not care about the policy stuff. Don Lemon and Wolf Blitzer can't keep their eye on the ball. They don't know what they should be mad about and what they shouldn't be mad about. So, hey, they'll just... I turned on CNN the other night, on Friday. It was on for maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Wall-to-wall Russia stuff with a little bit sprinkled into the Al Franken sex abuse stuff. Wall-to-wall Russia. Everything was based on implication and innuendo and assumption, and maybe this or that happened. The Al Franken stuff, oh my God, look at this picture of him on the plane with the woman in the Kevlar vest, and he's fake grabbing her boobs. Oh, outrage. Not a single fucking policy-related thing. Not a single thing. That's why they suck. That's why we do well. And also, by the way, that's why they demonetize us. That's why Adpocalypse hit and we never fully recovered. We don't talk about it as much anymore, but I don't want to come out here every day and bug the shit out of you guys by mentioning that. But it is true. We're now, the overwhelming majority of our money comes from Patreon and comes from you guys. So if you can go to patreon.com/seculartalk, and just like $2 a month would mean the world, man. Because you keep us going. You keep it afloat. We used to be able to rely solely on YouTube and the ad revenue. And the system YouTube has is actually a brilliant system in that there's a buffer between the content creators and the advertisers. So I never spoke to advertisers, and I still never do speak to advertisers. So that buffer's there, but we used to be able to sustain on that. Now we can't, because there's been a permanent 60% cut as a result of Adpocalypse. Permanent. And some would say I'm one of the lucky ones. I know people who've had a permanent 80% cut. So patreon.com/seculartalk. If you enjoy the content, just $2 a month would mean the world. If you want to go nuts and do 5 or 7, by all means, but really appreciate that. And I think that I like to think we provide something that's not that common. And the thing is exactly what Zaid Jilani is hitting on here, which is from establishment media, you're only going to get the outrage for the personal stuff. You're never going to get it from the policy stuff, because the policy stuff is normalized by definition. If they were going to get outraged by the policy stuff, they would still be talking about the war in Iraq, the illegal war in Iraq under international law, the torture, Patriot Act, Guantanamo Bay, because we have fucking war criminals running around like they're serious people contributing to the national dialogue, and that's fucking shameful.